Hello and welcome to the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley's program for this week. My name is Mitty Chang. I'm the president of this Rotary Club, and I'm excited to welcome you to this week's live recording. On this call, we have a few members as well as guests here in the order that I see them in, and feel free to wave when you hear your name called. I see Elsa from Oklahoma, who's a Rotaractor over there joining us. Welcome, Elsa. Welcome back. We have David from the Rotary eClub of East Anglia in the United Kingdom. Welcome, David. We have Christy Goverson from Montana, Missoula, Montana. Christy's been checking out our meetings for the past few weeks and is a prospective member. Welcome, Christy. And we have Jacqueline, who's currently president of the Rotary eClub of East Anglia. Welcome, Jacqueline. And we have Martin, who's the immediate past president of the Rotary eClub of East Anglia. He's very happy that he's immediate past president. And we have Chris, our resident Canadian from the Ontario area in Canada. Chris is one of our directors. And we also have Rushton, who's our immediate past president for our Rotary eClub, the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley. And we also have Jaco on the call. Jaco is a director for our club, and he is currently in Zimbabwe. Very cool. And also we have Amanda on the call. Amanda, hello. Amanda's a Rotarian, and I believe you're somewhere in California, sorry.
That's okay, Mitty. It's Amanda. I'm in Surprise, Arizona incoming. I'm the president now for the Surprise Rotary Club.
Awesome. Thank you for that clarification. Welcome, Amanda. And finally, I'd like to introduce to you our program speaker for the week, Sam. Sam is an amazing guy. So I actually met Sam a few years ago in Rotaract, and Sam is a graduate from the University of Southern California, and he actually was a Rotaractor in my Rotaract club in Fremont, California for some time, and he's currently the founder and CEO of Pixeom, I believe a cloud storage service company. He's going to explain it much better than I can ever do. So without further ado, let's pass it over to Sam. Sam, take it away.
Thanks, Mitty, and thanks everyone for inviting me. It's very nice to meet all of you. So yeah, as Mitty was saying, I'm the CEO and founder of Pixeom. What we do is we make cloud infrastructure deployable anywhere on premise and work in conjunction with a public cloud to create hybrid cloud solutions. And feel free to stop me if I say any terms that people may not be familiar with, but I can start a little bit more with the origin story first before explaining a little bit more about what we do. We have been in business now since 2013. And before that, I was an engineer at Microsoft. We were working on at the time, Windows 2012. And during that time, I got a gift for my birthday. I brought it with me. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. It's Raspberry Pi. And if any of you guys have any techie people in your life, this is one of the best gifts you can get them. It's only $30. I think actually 35 now for the newest model. And it pretty much lets a guy who knows programming be able to do all types of stuff. People turn these into home servers. Some people use these to turn on and off the lights in their home or control their pool heater, that kind of stuff. Very small, you can put them anywhere, and very low power. So I got one of these as a gift. And at the time I decided to start playing with it, I was also a customer of cloud services like Dropbox and those cloud storage companies. Most people back in 2013, if you mention the word cloud, they normally would associate that with a product like Dropbox or iCloud. And what I decided to do with this Raspberry Pi was see if I could make my own Dropbox and something that I could access on the go. I'm very close to my sister. My sister is my co-founder and president of Pixeom. She wasn't able to join the call today. But she, at the time, was still in college. And I remember one of the most disheartening things for her at the time was she was applying for jobs, and she got rejected from one of those, the high-end fashion, like the brand name clothing companies. And she was an industrial engineer, and she was she was hoping to help them with the manufacturing process, and she was having a bit of trouble finding a job. So one evening we decided, let's see if a product like this has legs. I'd actually deployed very similar infrastructure to what Dropbox and these companies build their applications on. So we decided to make a bunch of different apps. Similar, one of them was like Dropbox. Another one was, think of like eBay or Shopify, one of those e-commerce applications. And we made also like a web forum communication software for secure communication. And so we made this suite of different applications. We decided, all right, let's see if people would be interested in avoiding the subscription fees of Dropbox and Shopify, maybe avoiding some of the costs associated with listing items for sale on Amazon and eBay, into something that they just deploy in their home and runs and doesn't really cost them anything. This thing maybe is added $5 or so in total for my power bill across the whole year. Very low power kind of device. And so we decided we were going to launch a Kickstarter. And it was a successful Kickstarter. We were trying to raise 50 grand, and we ended up with 75. So Mitty, of which was one of the backers. Thank you, Mitty. And what we found was that most of the Kickstarter backers were very happy with what they got. And when we were about to start launching the products, we would do some focus groups, some kind of, test deployments, see what some new customers would think who would be willing to participate in these studies. And what we found was there was a lot of confusion sometimes between our product, Dropbox, and sometimes even there's some other products out there called NAS boxes sold by like Western Digital, some of the hard drive companies for storage. And people were having a bit of a tougher time differentiating. It was, for the most part, as far as they were concerned, ways to store their files. So what ended up happening was, instead of trying to explain to customers, all the differences, why our product is better, we were much faster. We were able to host different types of applications beyond just a Dropbox app. We were able to help them sell items, help them run all types of different communication utilities. The advice I'd gotten at the time from my father, who was also an entrepreneur, he ran up businesses for most of his life. He's now semi-retired. He told me, why compete against the big guys when I could potentially work with them? So we reached out to some of these other not Dropbox, we reached out to the guys who make the other types of local boxes in the home. We said, hey, we have this software stack that I was running on these Raspberry Pis. What do you think about making your products better? And we got mixed responses across the board, but most of them were pretty excited. And next thing we knew, we ended up signing up some very big names. I'm actually under NDA with most of them, but some of the largest electronic companies you can think of decided to license our software and put it on their hardware that they sell. So a lot of these boxes you see people purchase, think of like laptop makers, mobile phone makers. And now we've grown from just my little sister and I to now 60 full-time employees across 7 cities and all over the place. So I'm very familiar with how you guys do eClubs and Rotaracts, how you guys are conferencing in all the time. We're very, very familiar with Skype and calling each other all the time. We have been growing quite a bit, and what we are now focused on is enabling next generation cloud infrastructure. Because we were deploying apps like Dropbox and Amazon and eBay on little devices like this, now we work with a lot of telecoms and ISPs who I'm sure most of you guys have signed up AT&T, Verizon, or internationally Orange or SK Telecom, these other types of telecom companies. They tend to sell a lot of these either hotspots if they're a mobile MNO, or if they're an ISP, they'll deploy like a modem or a router in your house. And most of those are already way more powerful than this. And so what we do is we work with them and enable our software to run on their routers, their hardware. And from there, they're now able to deploy their own alternatives to Dropbox, their alternatives to Shopify, to any type of cloud service. Even one of them is actually working with us to deploy an alternative to Netflix. Think of a distributed Netflix that instead of being, so like you see here in the US, people complain all the time, Netflix is slow, Comcast is trying to charge Netflix and these content providers, they get slapped in the face with net neutrality laws. And now they can, companies like Comcast can either let Netflix and all these guys make all the money and use up all their bandwidth, or start deploying these services their own. And what some of them have tried to do is buy their own data centers. Instead, most of the ones we're working with will deploy our software onto their existing modems and then enable their own branded versions of these applications like Dropbox, Netflix, these kinds of things, especially outside the US, where the infrastructure for a service like Netflix, the way they've designed it today, just isn't possible. There is not enough data centers, there's not enough bandwidth available. But when you start deploying these in individual homes and start spreading out the distribution of these services, it becomes much more doable and a much more lucrative revenue stream for these types of companies. And I hope I explained it well enough. Sometimes I tend to go a little fast, but that's most of our customers, the other types of OEM guys who want to differentiate their hardware, and telecom companies that want to start moving up the stack and shift revenue away from the Googles and the Netflixes of the world.
Awesome. Yay. It's a applause sound, Sam. That was terrific. Sam, thank you for explaining the origin story of your company for us. That was really interesting to hear. We're going to open up the floor to questions from the audience. I'm going to start off with a question. So if you have a question, go ahead and use the raise hand button or type something in the chat, and I'll know to call on you. And that button's, I think, under the participants button in there. So Sam, really quick question for you. So I think what I found the most interesting part, having already known part of the background story, was hearing a little bit about what you're doing with some of these companies, and then maybe having some internal like Netflix version streaming, video streaming software that's coming out, which is really interesting to hear. But going a little bit further back into your origin history, could you tell us a little bit more about your Kickstarter and also how you got the word out there for your Kickstarter and your publicity? I think I know a little bit more information than some of these folks here on the call, but I think that's actually a really interesting story, because I know a lot of people, they hear about Kickstarter and maybe they've started their own campaign, but maybe not as successful. So what are some of the things that you did to make your Kickstarter successful?
Yeah, that's a great question. I get that quite a bit from other people I know who want to launch Kickstarters. So a lot of people I know, when they start a lot of the failed Kickstarters, they'll just launch the project, put it on the site, and maybe have some of their friends and family, share it around on Facebook or Twitter, get a bit of momentum, but then they lose all the momentum from there. It's not, one of those viral videos that everyone just starts sharing and sharing. You share it with 10 people, they share it with 10 more people, and it just keeps growing from there. Granted, some of them are like that, like that Smart Cooler or Pebble, but the vast majority of them, it takes a lot of work. We actually originally saw a bunch of services online that would advertise SEO kind of services and marketing plans and that kind of stuff. We tried them also for a little while. Most of them were writing press releases, submitting them to these big PR wires, and hoping that journalists and bloggers would end up picking up on it and start writing about us. That also didn't work either. So if you Google, how to get the word out on your Kickstarter, most of those links don't work. What actually was the most effective tool, and I stand by this, I could go on a whole rant, maybe some other time, about how useful it is LinkedIn. So I have a premium account on LinkedIn. I highly recommend all of you guys to do it too. It's worked beyond just the Kickstarter. It's been very effective for business development and other types of outreach to potential customers, partners, anyone really that I'm trying to reach out to. What I did was instead of going to tech publications and journalists and going to they usually have like a submit content form if you have a pitch, I would instead look up the journalists on LinkedIn, and I was paying $70 American dollars for per month, but I would get at least 10 free messages per week that I could send out. I believe they got refunded if they didn't respond within 3 days. So it actually gave me enough rolling momentum. And I would just directly message these journalists with a pitch. And it was a very short pitch. I would get up every morning at 9 a.m. and just start sending out as many as I could. I did do some email as well, but the best results I got were over LinkedIn. When you get a message on LinkedIn, it shows up in your in your personal inbox and as a notification on your phone and all over. It's like I tell a lot of my friends too, like they'll text me sometimes and I forget it, but if you message me on Facebook, I get notification on my computer, my phone, everything that is connected to it. So LinkedIn had a much higher yield in terms of responses I would get. And next thing I knew, I was, there were articles written about us in TechCrunch and Wired. I was on ABC News on TV here in local. I don't think it was national. It was just here in the Bay Area. But it was very effective. I highly recommend it. There was one marketing company that helped us with some of the SEO stuff after the publications were written, so that those publications then would start propagating throughout the web and we get more visibility. If any of you are thinking of launching a Kickstarter, I highly recommend reaching out to me. I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to give more advice when there's more time. I don't want to use up too much of the meeting time talking about that stuff either.
Cool, thank you. Martin, I see your hand up. I'm going ahead and pass to you, and everyone else feel free to use the raise hand button, and I will call on you later.
Okay. Firstly, Mitty, thanks for inviting us, and it's brilliant to be able to connect. Never seems to be amazed at the fact that nowadays it's so easy to connect from all over the world, from Zimbabwe to UK to Oklahoma and Canada and everywhere. So well done, and I think it's brilliant. Sam, I was interested in the fact that you are relative. I mean, how long did you say you were in business? I've forgotten.
So we originally. I've been working on this product since 2012. We became a corporation in 2013.
Okay, so quite new. And what I'm interested in is you said you were in a number of cities, and was it countries or just cities?
U.S. and India mostly.
Okay, so what motivated that expansion quite quickly, I would guess? Was it the marketplace, or was it your strategy? What was it that took you there?
Yeah, great question. There's two answers to that question. The first of which is being able to retain talent here in Silicon Valley, especially engineers and other technical folk, is very difficult. I know in the last statistic I heard back in 2014, so don't quote me on the number, was generally you have 30% turnover every year. And coupled with that, they're very expensive. So when I started, I decided I wanted to be as lean as possible. I luckily have some connections that have helped me in India. Obviously I live in the US, my family's from India. They've helped me establish. My dad, as I mentioned earlier, was a serial entrepreneur. In the past, he'd also leveraged engineers in India. So he did help me set that up. And I went ahead and started hiring, started growing with the amount of traction we were getting. I needed to grow quickly. But one of the biggest challenges I've seen from tech companies throughout the entire history, and granted, I'm not that old, so I haven't seen that much of the history, is what tends to happen is as tech companies grow very quickly, they start growing their costs very quickly too. And so I wanted to avoid that from happening as I scaled. I wanted to remain lean as possible as I grew. And so my costs per month are very, very low for 60 full-time employees. And I hope to retain that. If you see even big companies like Apple, they are making tons of money on the iPhones, but their costs continue to rise over time.
Yeah.
Right? So that's my goal over time.
Oh, thanks. Oh, by the way, it's 6 o'clock here for everybody, so we're allowed to drink.
Nice. David, I see your hand or your finger up, so if you'd like to ask your question.
Sam, I'm interested in the fact that your father had said to you, don't fight them, join them.
Oh, yeah.
How did you go about joining them?
Great question. I think it helped a lot that I worked in the industry for a little while. I was, in Microsoft. I actually was fortunate enough to have a position where I worked with a lot of external companies as well. But really the second most effective way, aside from my own network, was to start going to trade shows and conferences. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard of CES or there's Mobile World Congress in Spain, or I'm blanking now that I'm thinking of all of them, but South by Southwest in Austin, some of these big tech conferences, usually those are great events that you can use to start meeting people from all over the industry. I get, like corporate dev people, biz dev people, marketing people from all the big companies that just walk by. It costs about anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 to host a booth there, but it really pays for itself in the long run. All it takes is one or two companies to decide, okay, yeah, this is really interesting. Let's launch a product together, or let's start exploring this together, start deploying this to our customers, and see what they like. And as long as you have faith in your product and it's something that customers are going to give good feedback on, then it generally works out really well.
Interesting. Yeah.
Awesome. Any other questions for Sam? Sam? Martin, go ahead.
Sorry, Sam, I forgot, where is it based? Is it actually based in California, did you say? It's in Silicon Valley?
I'm based in Silicon Valley. We're actually a Delaware corporation.
Okay.
Companies in the U.S. like to be Delaware corporations. There's a lot of legal precedent.
Yeah. And if you've got these places in other cities, do you do a lot of traveling?
Oh, yeah. A lot of traveling.
Yeah.
Actually, one of our big customers is in South Korea, so I go over to that area.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Just missed the Rotary convention by a couple of weeks.
Yeah. You should have had a stand there. You'd have made a lot of money.
Well, terrific.
Thank you.
Sam, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. If there are no other questions, Sam, we're going to take it to you for some last words, and I'll close up the meeting.
I just really appreciate you guys taking the time to invite me and listen to my story. It really means a lot.
Terrific. And more information about Sam's company will be available below this meeting in the related links section. His website is pixeom.com. We'll have that link available to you down there. Definitely check out his website and check out his company. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this week's program for the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley. We bring to you every week something about innovation, entrepreneurship, and education, and we hope to inspire you every week. If you haven't yet, please make sure that you fill out the either the attendance form right below this video, or else leave a comment in the comment section. We'd love to hear what you thought about the meeting, and any questions you might have for Sam, you can leave those in the comments, and we'll make sure that he sees them. And before we end, I see we have one maybe question from Jacqueline. Jacqueline, do you have any final words for us?
It wasn't so much as a question, but to wish you every success in the forthcoming Rotary year. And I believe we've got I caught somebody else was also president this year. I don't know if they're still online, but just to wish you all the best. I'm doing it for the first time as an eClub president, but I've done it land-based. But I really wish you all the best for this year.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jacqueline, and thank you for joining us. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
And you're all welcome to join our meetings anytime as well. So.
Absolutely. Looking forward to
You
it.
never miss a trick, do you, Brocklebank?
Yeah, but we're not quite as polite or reserved.
All right.
I was on my best behaviour.